Hi, my name is Anna, and studying abroad is about 83% of my personality, and tomorrow is actually the 2-year anniversary of me leaving to study abroad, and so I figured what a perfect time to make a little video. And so as you know by the title, I'm going to be giving some stories behind the Instagram posts and also Instagram stories from my 2 months studying abroad. There's some tea involved, there's some tragedy involved, there's some drama. But I do want to make the disclaimer that studying abroad was like the best time of my life, so I don't want any of these stories to come across as complaints because I wouldn't change any moment of it for the world. I just think some of these are funny. So like I said, it's about to be the 2-year anniversary. So summer of 2019, from late May until late July, I studied abroad in Malaga, Spain. I went through ISA. I was in a homestay. I took Spanish classes. I took weekend trips around Europe. I'm not exaggerating when I said it was the highlight of my life. And so as I'm sure you can guess, there's lots of Instagram posts, there's lots of Instagram stories, and so let's just pop straight into it. The first Instagram post that I want to give a little review of is the post that I made while we were on a weekend trip to Morocco. Now I want to say, my experience in Morocco does not reflect the country, the people, anything. It genuinely was just like my weekend trip there. A lot happened. So as you can see in this another day, another continent Instagram post, there are big smiles happening. This post is all pictures from Fez, Morocco. We went on some tours. We toured a rug place, we toured a tannery, we walked around a lot. Now, as you know, whenever you travel to some countries, we can't drink the water there because of the various, stuff that lives in the water that our bodies aren't used to. And Morocco is one of those places. They had advised us to take prebiotics leading up to the trip for 2 weeks, which I did. Most people did. And they told us, brush your teeth by pouring the water bottle on it. Don't eat fresh fruits or vegetables because you don't they probably were rinsed in the water. Don't get street food, all of that. However, at the restaurants that we went to, the food that was prepared for us, even though it was cooked, it wasn't fresh fruits or vegetables. It was always laid on a bed of lettuce, just regular iceberg lettuce, fresh, not cooked, for sure had been rinsed in the water. And so nearly everyone in my group got sick. I think maybe 2 people escaped free, and so you wouldn't know it from these pictures. It hadn't started quite during our weekend trip in Morocco, but it was getting to where your belly kind of. Obviously, that part of it was not posted on Instagram. It just looks like cute smiles at cute locations in Morocco, which was the case, but so was the COOLi. Now the next one, the just messing around, similar to the other one, just remember the bodily functions that were happening for everybody throughout this time, but also just other funny things. Whenever you're in a big city, literally anywhere, like the United States too, cat calls happen. However, in Morocco, they speak both French and Arabic and not as much English, especially we weren't in the highest of touristy regions. And so as we would walk through the markets, through the streets, whatever, all of the men on the sides of the streets would stop and you would hear little whispers of very good, very beautiful, very good, coming from the side, which is just a way that I have never personally been catcalled before. Just very good. And it was uncomfy, but also funny looking back on it. Moving on though, from Morocco, let's look at these 2 stories from Nerja. Now Nerja is a small coastal town that was really close to Malaga, and it was, I think, our first weekend in Malaga. We took a trip to Nerja, and as you can see in these pictures, it was absolutely gorgeous, so beautiful. It really was we were just there for a day. It really was a fun day. We took the bus there. I actually got very sunburnt, but that's kind of beside the point. It was, like I said, the first weekend there. My skin was not used to the Spanish sun yet, if it ever really did get used to it, but I got very sunburnt. Fun day. But we had our bus tickets for, I believe it was a 7 p.m. bus ride back to Malaga, which was maybe a 30-minute bus. And whenever we got to the bus location, we learned that the bus rides had been very full going back to Malaga, because I think it was a Sunday night, and so everyone was trying to go back to the city. We were oh, don't worry, we already have our tickets in advance. We have spots reserved, it's okay. Until our bus comes and the bus driver lets on everybody without a ticket before us, and then there wasn't any room left for our whole group, and even part of the group. I think there wasn't a single seat left. And I remember being very thankful because there was 2 people on our trip who were native Spanish speakers, and so they could communicate a whole lot better than any of the rest of us could. And they were talking to the bus driver being we have to get let on this bus, we have our tickets. And other people didn't have their tickets and they got let on, we have our tickets, we need seats. And the bus driver got very angry and essentially was just like, no, you can't be on this bus, and like kicked them off and then like left. And so we ended up being like stranded at the Nerja bus stop for, in my head it was like 2.5 hours. I don't know if that's quite how long it was, but in my head it was definitely 2.5 hours after a full long day of being in the sun. Everyone was exhausted, everyone was thirsty, starving, and we just laid at this bus stop for literally 2.5 hours, not even sure if another bus was coming. I think the bus that had come like 2.5 hours after was going to be like the last bus back to Malaga that night, and so it was like so crucial that we got on it, which thankfully we did, but again, that didn't quite make the Instagram. It looked like a picture perfect trip. Let's move on to some of the tea. So this next post I'm going to show you, its caption is sunny and 75 miles per hour winds, which I thought was kind of clever because, you know, like sunny and 75, but it was such a windy day that day. I also got very sunburned this day, but this day was one that I believe it was after school. Our school was maybe like 3-minute walk from the beach, and so a group of us like did our school day, got done at like 2, went and had fish like right on the beach, really fresh fish, and then just hung out on the beach all day, which was so fun. I just remember it being a really good day. But I posted this picture on Instagram and later got a little DM from a church that I was involved in Tuscaloosa, and the DM essentially said that I had to take the post down because I had to think about the boys that would be scrolling through my feed and like what they would think whenever they saw my post of like me having my fun time at the beach. Even though looking back I'm like, oh, that shouldn't affect me at all, like I should have just whatever. I cried. It was sad. It kind of ruined the day for me. This Instagram post caused me some ruckus, honestly, for months leading up to that. That was like the beginning of the Instagram shenanigans while in Spain related to that church. That literally November of that year, this was over the summer, November of that year, I was still like dealing with the ramifications of me posting in swimsuits on the beach while I was living in a beach town in Spain. That's some tea related to the Instagram posts though. That was still such a fun day though. So still happy memories, even though there's that little dark cloud hanging around this post specifically. Speaking of the DMs that I got while in Spain and just casually hanging out, having a good time, I'll show 2 Instagram stories that I also got DM'd for. This first one was just a couple days later. We were having dinner on top of a hotel that faced the ocean in Malaga. It was so beautiful. I think I actually ate before because I knew dinner was gonna be really expensive, so I just came and had like, I think like 1 glass of champagne and like a really good dessert that night, but because of this picture with the glass, I also got DM'd saying that I needed to take it down and I needed to think carefully about what I posted. I thought it was a pretty picture. I still think that. And then the other one that was on Instagram stories is this story that was me reposting a post that this friend had made. But again, I'm holding a glass of champagne, or a flute, is that what it's called, of champagne. And so I got DMs saying I needed to take it down. This salad that you can see in front of me in this picture was one of the best salads I have had like to this day in my life. I don't even remember all that had in it. It was like a spring mix. It had mango. It had some sort of like really good cheese. I like dream about this salad. It was wonderful. Just one last post where the story behind it is this little church tee. This picture is the same beach actually that the other picture was on, and it says, took some finals today, but we're just saying yikes and moving it on, hashtag laugh it off. And I thought they were kind of cute pictures. They're smiley. It was another windy day. It was fun. But as you'll notice, the first one shows the back of my swimsuit, which is what my DM was about for the first one, and I definitely posted it because I got DM'd, which, should I be proud of that? I don't know. Do I regret it? No. So that's the story behind that Instagram post. Really, like, the sole motivation for posting that one was, what, like in retribution? Moving on to other stories behind the Instagram posts though, let's go to my Palma de Mallorca weekend trip. This one was, so basically with my program, it was a month-long program, but you could do like 2 back-to-back. So that's what I did, and then 4 other girls did the same thing, which was fun because we just had our little friend group of like, we stayed June and July, and other people were either there June or July. And so the first month we had trips that were planned for us by ISA, and then the second month it was like they were doing the same trip, so we got to take our own. So Palma de Mallorca was our first trip that we took by ourselves, and I personally love to plan trips and found it so fun. I planned all of our weekend trips that we took throughout these months. Like, people would like give suggestions of where to go, but then like I planned them. And so with this Palma de Mallorca post, it ended up being a really good trip, like so fun, so good, don't get me wrong. But let's focus on this little airport video that's here, because you wouldn't know it, but about 30 minutes before this airport video, I had an absolute mental breakdown. And why that was, our Airbnb host that for Mallorca had messaged us about 30 minutes before we were supposed to leave to the airport, and basically said, I know you made this reservation for 5 people, but actually only 4 of you can stay here. And I remember answering and being like, what? Like, we're staying there tonight, like 5 of us are coming, we're about to get on the plane, like what do you mean now only 4 of us can stay here? And at first, like, she was like really sticking to it, like, no, sorry, sorry, like no 5th person can come, like only 4 of you can stay here. I think I was feeling the pressure of it because I was like, I planned this trip and now we're like gonna be homeless there. Like I was thinking like, couldn't we just like stay on the beach? Like we can bring blankets, like just sleep there. Like what can we do? Whatever. I think what it ended up being was that it was a really small room we were staying in this like host's home. And I guess like a group of 5 people had stayed there the weekend before and like then gave her a bad review because they said it was like too small, even though like it was 5 of them staying in the room. And so I had to like basically like promise to give her a good review. Say like, you know, like we're okay, like we understand that it's a small room, like we're okay being cramped, all of this stuff. After like 20 minutes of like back and forth, like me like begging to let a 5th person come because we had like no other plans, like weren't any other Airbnbs open. She was like, well, I guess like a 5th person can come. And I was thinking like, well, good, because there's 5 of us. So like, who are we voting off the island? But absolute mental breakdown, and then headed straight to the airport. And then like I said, it ended up being such a good trip. Like it wasn't worth the stress, but I think I was just feeling the stress because like I planned this trip and now we're literally going to like be homeless. I will say though, it was kind of an experience. It felt like summer camp because the Airbnb was tiny. Like we all 5 of us stayed in one little room. I think there was like a bed and then like 2 mattresses on the floor. And so it was like 3 of us squished in the bed and then the other 2 people had the 2 mattresses. It like didn't have a bathroom connected to the building. It was like an outhouse. So there was like lots of like big mosquitoes, lizards, spiders, but they did have a pool that was really nice to just hang around at. So I wouldn't change the Airbnb, but it was an experience. It did really feel like summer camp. The earlier pictures in that post, the ones where we are on a boat, it was like a pirate ship cruise thing that was going around the island, which ended up being so fun. But it was funny because the group somehow, I don't know if this is like typical for the boats that we booked through or like if it just happened to be that day, but basically it was like the 5 of us, one like 30-year-old woman from Finland, and then all the other were like 35-year-old men who were all French. And like that was the vibe of our little like party boat cruise pirate ship going around Majorca. So it was good that we had each other because it was a lot of middle-aged men. Next, let's scoot on over to our trip to France, which was another weekend trip that we planned. We flew into Nantes, France, like Nantes. I took French in high school and I don't remember pronunciations. Nantes? France. We spent like half a day there and then took a train to Saint-Nazaire, or Saint-Nazaire. Which is like a small like fishing town, which ended up being so cool. But the funny thing is, with this trip to France, it just ended up being like all of us wanted to go to France. That was the 2nd weekend in July that we could plan a weekend trip for ourselves. It wasn't until we got to Saint-Nazaire and our Airbnb's host was like, oh, are you gonna go see the fireworks on the beach tonight? And we were like, fireworks on the beach? Like, sure. Just thinking like, oh, I guess like they just like, I don't know, do fireworks on the beach casually, whatever. That was like the first little hint that there was something different. And then it was like when we were walking down the streets, there was a bunch of like red, white, and blue banners. There was a bunch of like French flags flying. And it genuinely took probably like 2 hours into us being in Saint-Nazaire that like it was Bastille Day. We showed up to France on Bastille Day, not knowing. It was accidental. The only time I've ever been to France in my life, and like it was on Bastille Day. Like it was so cool, but it was totally accidental. I knew what day Bastille Day was. It just never clicked that like that was the day I was also going to be in France. And so we did end up going to the fireworks on the beach. Like there was a bunch of just like people out like having a good time celebrating, and it was like a genuinely wonderful time. But it was like the best surprise ever that none of us had clicked that it was Bastille Day, and there we were in France in this like small little, like it mostly was just like a small town, and so it felt just like really genuine, and like it was an incredible time. But just like what a weird coincidence. Like I said, best coincidence of my life, but such a weird one. This next picture, it doesn't have like a really hilarious funny story or anything behind it, but it's just like one of me posing it. So it's like just happy to be here with a little smiley face, a pretty little wall of flowers behind me. This wall of flowers is the wall to the bathroom of the Alhambra. People were like going to the bathroom probably like a foot from me on the other side of this wall. I just thought it was pretty, and so I took the picture. But it was stinky and it was the bathroom, and it just looks like a cute picture. So little do you know, I was smelling poo the entire time. And I think this is gonna be the last one for this video because I know I kind of moved through them fast. Like I would love to make more study abroad like story time, just my experience videos on this channel, but it's literally been 2 years since I studied abroad. So like it's not like I'm actually doing it again now, but I genuinely, like I said in the beginning, it's 83% of my personality, best time of my life. I feel like it ended up being like a really good experience, but I felt like really confused going into it. So I don't know, let me know if you want to see study abroad videos, even though like I'm not doing it again. I feel like it's weird to make videos now, but I also feel like I have things to say about it, so we'll see. But the last one, a trip to Barcelona, and this was after our program like technically ended, but I gave myself some like wiggle room with my return return flight home. And so me and my friend Sarah went to Barcelona and Venice and then like flew home after that. But this trip to Barcelona, we got the flight from Malaga to Barcelona for 18 euros, maybe like $20. So cheap flight because it left at 11:30 p.m. And that was like the last time I was gonna be in Malaga. Like we had like all of our stuff with us. Like I like was moving out. Like that was the last time I was gonna be there. Left at 11:30 p.m. Arrived to Barcelona probably at like 2 a.m. And so we took a bus from the airport like to some area in Barcelona, and then we're like walking with our like huge suitcases down the streets at like 3:30 a.m. to our Airbnb in Barcelona. Sketchy because it was 3:30 a.m. but like sketchy. Like I genuinely, the people who were out were not my crowd, not my kind of people. And there were times walking when I was like, this is it. Like I'm not gonna ever make it to this Airbnb. Like my end is right here. Obviously it wasn't. We made it to our Airbnb and we only had one day in Barcelona. Like we were leaving the next night. And so we woke up bright and early in the morning. I don't remember actually like what time we woke up, but it was probably like 7 or 8. And our one day in Barcelona, it poured rain for almost the entire day. Like vast majority of the day. It was absolutely pouring. So that's where this egg picture comes from, is someone on the street sold us little ponchos for like 2 euros, which were very much needed because it never rained in Malaga. Not one time when I was in Malaga for the full 2 months did it rain. Like I was not prepared for rain. We were soaked. Like I could like squeeze myself out. We were so soaked just from like walking around. We went to Gaudi's, you know, like park thing, the architect, but we didn't go inside. We actually just stayed on the outside. That was free and kind of walked the trails around there because it was expensive to go inside. So we just like looked at it from above and all the people who actually bought tickets, which was kind of funny. Oh, whenever it started pouring rain, we ran into a McDonald's that was just like on the street to like for protection. While we were in that McDonald's, a man had a like heart attack, and so the ambulance got called. Like people were freaking out, like for good reason. It was obviously very dramatic. I have no idea what happened to him. I assume he was okay because I think when the EMTs came, like he was conscious and everything, but that felt like a lot. But honestly, the highlight of that trip was we went to La Sagrada Familia, which is, you know, the like Barcelona's thing. Like it's been in construction for however many years. Look it up, you'll recognize it or have heard about it. Sarah actually did this research. I had no idea, but we went at, I think it was like 5:30 p.m. or something, which was supposed to be when the sun was like hitting it just right, and it was so beautiful in there, like so beautiful. So she really planned that well. But we went to La Sagrada Familia, and then I think we like headed back to the Airbnb, packed up our stuff again, like all of my 2 months worth of belongings, and went back to the airport. We were genuinely there less than 24 hours, but I feel like we did a lot. We did a lot while being soaked and while navigating, calling 911 in Spain, except it's not 911. I forget what it is now. 112. I hope it was interesting. Like I said, let me know if you want more study abroad videos because I'll probably make them anyways. I just feel like it's weird since I'm not actually studying abroad now, but it just was such a big part of my life that I loved so much and I love talking about and sharing about. And maybe if I do videos here, then I'll feel less of a need to bring it up every day to the people around me in conversation, you know? Subscribe before you go, and I'll see you next time.